our flag, or not our flag raising, but our Pride recognition ceremony for Pride 2024. Welcome everyone and thank you for coming. For those, if there's anyone that I haven't met, my name is Charlotte LaFranc and I am the Equity, Diversity and Inclusion Specialist and your host for today. And I just want to start first of all by offering a little bit of love, as I often do. Just knowing how busy everyone is and how stretched thin we all are at this time, that you showed up, that you're here, that you took a moment out of your days to be here and be present with us means a lot. And it really speaks to the commitment that you have for our children, youth, and families, and it means a lot. So a lot of love and a lot of appreciation to all of you for being here and for all that you do. We have people that came in from their vacations, including Teresa, who's on vacation, and was so gracious to join us on our own time. So again, it means so, so much. So welcome and thank you so much for being here. As we begin today, we want to acknowledge, of course, where we are. And this land on which we gather is comprised of the traditional territories, which consists of the Three Fires Confederacy of Nations, the Ojibwe, the Odawa, and the Potawatomi nations. As well, we recognize the ancestral and unceded territory of Caldwell First Nation, whose land and waters includes Pelee Island and Point Pelee. And a beautiful process has begun for them to start to reclaim some of that land, and they're already rejuvenating some of that land, which has been a really beautiful thing to see. We know that the Ojibwe, the Odawa, and the Potawatomi agreed to share this territory with the British Crown by way of the 1790 treaty, which was referred to as the McKee Purchase. One of the things we know about this land as well is that there was an agreement which included all of the nations coming together under what was called the Two-Row Wampum Belt. And that wampum treaty meant that we would all share and care for the Great Lakes together for as long as the grass was green and as long as the sun set. And those two rows that we see on the wampum belt were each settlers and indigenous nations traveling in their canoes in parallel paths, neither interfering with the other. And that was the spirit of those agreements, and that is very much when we say that we want to get back to the spirit of the treaties. That is the relationship that we are looking to restore. So acknowledging the land is really about acknowledging the people of this land, and very much tied to why we're here today. When we think about the history of colonization, and we think about the impacts of colonization, which gave us things like heterosexism, the gender binary, and these values that were forcefully imposed upon Indigenous people. Prior to colonization, Indigenous people, all children were a gift from Creator. There were as many as, from what I understand, 5 to 7 different names for middle genders. And our two-spirit and gender diverse people were honored, and they were celebrated, and they were recognized as holding value in their communities. So as we think now about reconciliation, how do we restore that rightful place of our two-spirit and gender diverse people and really honor them as teachers and leaders and healers and wisdom leaders in our communities? That's very much part of the process of reconciliation. The other thing we want to point out today is that it is August 1st, which is Emancipation Day. And so as we stand here today, we stand in solidarity with all. Emancipation on 1834, August 1st, 1834, the Emancipation Proclamation was signed, and it basically ended slavery in all of the British colonies, which included Canada and a number of countries in the Caribbean as well. And still, we don't know that much about our own history of slavery. And an even lesser known fact, which I learned and I thought was really relevant, is that in the 1750s, as many as 2/3 of the enslaved people in Canada were Indigenous. They were enslaved by the French primarily. And it was really in the late 1700s and early 1800s that more and more Africans were enslaved and brought into the country. So when we look at our history, it really is about all of us. And this beautiful symbol of the rainbow really shows that we're not free as a people until one is not free until all are free. And so as we come together, we stand in love and solidarity for all. So that is why we're here today. And really excited to have a very brief but really impactful program. We're going to give you all the feels, I think, today. So, and to start us off, I'm going to just, before I introduce Leo, I'm just going to move our slide along here. There we go. So now we have the flag flapping in the breeze, so we can really center this in our consciousness and know that outside in that very unfriendly, humid weather, we are much more comfortable in here, but that flag is flying proudly outside. And so we can center that in our consciousness throughout our event today. So a huge thanks to Paul for recording the flags, for recording the raising of the flags, and just in generally for all that you do. We appreciate you, Paul. So thank you. So Leo, I'm going to invite Leo, who's our Senior Director of Services, to bring some greetings and remarks. Welcome, Leo.
Thank you. First off, I do want to say thank you very much, Charlotte. I can honestly listen to you speak all day. I love what you bring to the table when it comes down to discussing just the need for us to be knowledgeable of our own history, knowledgeable of how we can improve upon our own understanding of things so we can move forward as well. So thank you very much for that. And I think also you touched on something of appreciation to all those in the room. And I think it's something of a bit of a theme throughout my notes here, but also throughout what we're hoping to achieve across next year, is that together we can do some amazing things. And I think it's important for us to be side by side in doing that. And hopefully in doing so, we can show that support to those children, youth, and families that need us the most. But as a starting point, good morning. And as Pride Month begins in Windsor-Essex County, we're very pleased to stand in solidarity with our 2S LGBTQIA+ community. The Windsor-Essex Children's Aid Society is committed to providing services that are open, inclusive, safe, and affirming to all children, youth, and families. We celebrate the diverse sexual orientations, genders, cultural identities, and gender expressions of our community members. And more importantly, we recognize the responsibility that we all have, both personally and professionally, to ensure that the rights of two-spirit, queer, trans individuals are honored in the communities that they live in, the services that they access, and the systems that we interact with, that they interact with. We come together today to openly and warmly express our support and affirmation of Pride communities as a symbolic gesture. We recognize the impact of our public support can be far-reaching and in many cases life-saving, but also it's important to recognize that our celebration, our affirmation, and our support must be grounded in year-round action. Clear evidence and research, very unfortunately, tells us that the youth within the child welfare system face disproportionate levels of harassment, bullying, violence, and family rejection, and in addition to other forms of discrimination and erasure within the broader community. As a result, 2S LGBTQ+ youth are overrepresented in child welfare and often experience poorer outcomes within other social systems, including healthcare and the criminal justice system and even education. And I think ultimately, when we hear that, we know we can and we must do better. And WECAS is committed to doing just that. We recognize that everyone here has a role to play and a responsibility to work towards better outcomes in meaningful and tangible ways. As such, we've incorporated that commitment in our strategic and operational plans, in our consultation models, and in our community engagement and in our advocacy. We have taken many steps to move this forward over the past year. And although I will be doing a shout out to the SOGI committee specifically at the end, I also want to do a shout out to the SOGI committee here in the support that they've been doing to take those steps and move those things forward. But some other items that we've moved forward with is our partnership with Trans Wellness Ontario and additional mandatory SOGI training for staff, which provided more hands-on tools to have identity conversations and create safety for our queer, trans, and questioning youth. We also developed an enhanced case consultation process which brings together 2S LGBTQ+ partners and people with lived experience to support staff in providing the most affirmative services possible. We endeavor to implement and evaluate the model to ensure it is as impactful as possible. And then we continue to contribute at the provincial level through our advocacy efforts with the Ombudsman's Office, with the Ministry, and our very active engagement with the Ontario Association of Children's Aid Societies. Our theme for last year was becoming the affirming community and children and youth need. And this year, we're looking to build on that theme as we embrace our collective responsibility and call each other into the work. And again, it's because we know together we're better, and that it truly takes a village to raise, support, and affirm our children and youth. We're incredibly thankful to Derek, Nona, and the team at Trans Wellness Ontario for their guidance over the last year, and to our many partners and allies across the community. Partners like Teresa Sims, who joined us today and is a steady voice of accountability and wisdom in much of the work we do. I wish to also take a moment here and acknowledge and express my sincere thanks and appreciation to the WECAS Committee, which is made up of dedicated staff, many of whom have been championing and leading this work for years. Thank you for your commitment, thank you for your leadership, and thank you for helping us get closer and closer to becoming the affirming agency that we need to be. You truly make a difference every day. Together we can and will be the affirming community that children and youth need. Happy Pride.
Yay. Thank you so much, Leo. It's still really powerful to hear our leaders speak those kind of words out loud and really feel that commitment. And I know it's hard when we're in the middle of the big changes that we're in to see the light, but there's so much that we're doing that is good, and we're going in the right direction, and I have a lot of hope for where we're going. So even though it doesn't always feel like it when we're all so busy, there's so much that is happening that is so good. You know, I was reflecting just recently about maybe 15 years ago, the Two-Spirit folks out of Toronto came down and spent several days in our community and did these intensive knowledge sharing sessions for days and days and days at the old Windsor Pride office on Olette. And I remember that. Do you remember that, Teresa? You were there. We were in together for days, and it just so much knowledge sharing that was shared. And I remember, because back then, you didn't have the best opinion of us back in the day. So, and I think that the fact that we've come so far in our relationship that we have an open door where you're our frequent guest and advisor and partner and friend and nookamus really shows how far we have come. And so hopefully we'll continue to go in the right direction. So thank you so much for that. All right. So we're going to keep moving along, and one of our committee members, Lyris Anderson, who is one of our OG committee members. We're going to invite Lyris to share some remarks and personal reflections. Welcome, Lyris.
Okay. Thank you so much for being here. I know you all wanted to hear the shy, introverted queer speak in front of a crowd again. That's me. Here we go. When Charlotte asked me to make a short speech for our flag-raising Pride Week kickoff, of course my first instinct was to come up with some excuse why I couldn't do it. But for some reason, when I started my email response, I said, sure, I think I can do that. So why did I say yes? Well, for many reasons. The first one being that Pride Week is my absolute favorite time of the year. Some people like Christmas, others like Halloween, but my favorite celebration is without a doubt Pride. Not that I want to make this speech about me, but okay, let's make this speech a little bit about me. During Pride Week in Windsor and Pride Month in June, there's an abundance of rainbows, 2S LGBTQ+ affirmations, posters, events, displays at stores, libraries, and the like. Who doesn't love a rainbow? When I see these out in the community, in neighborhoods or on television, I feel represented. When my wife, a survivor of conversion therapy, sees them, she feels safe. When my children, twins who are almost 7, who are different genders, but who have shared the same clothes, toys, hobbies, and books since birth, see them, they know those symbols mean everyone is welcome and accepted here. In case you don't know, my kids are super fantastic, wonderful, magical beings, and I want them to have self-love and self-worth forever. I'm sure you've all heard people talk about groomers, how children need to be protected and saved from being brainwashed by the 2S LGBTQ+ community. There are people who want to ban books, prevent drag shows from taking place, protest pride parades and events. I can tell you for certain, these people have never attended a pride event in their lives. If they did, they would know that it is the most peaceful, loving, accepting, and supportive place you can be. I feel 100% safe walking with my wife and children in a pride parade. I cannot say the same for anywhere else. At all, I can't. It's a fact. Whether I'm out in public or even at a family function, I have to be hyper-vigilant. Will someone comment on the fact that my children have 2 presenting female parents who are gender diverse and one of them goes by the title dad? Will someone comment on the fact that my son has long hair, likes to wear dresses, loves pink, and doesn't mind what pronouns are used to describe him because to him, sometimes being a girl feels good? Will anyone in my family's lives be at risk simply for being who they are? How many people do you know have to take that into consideration when they step out of their house, or frankly, even within the confines of their own home? But that's just me and my family. Another reason I said yes was for the chance to share some quotes from some amazing people. I don't have all the right words. Most of the time I don't say much, but others have already said things better anyways. To quote James Baldwin, we can disagree and still love each other unless your disagreement is rooted in my oppression and denial of my humanity and right to exist. I can assure you no one is trying to turn straight children gay, trans, queer, bi, two-spirit, non-binary, or gender non-conforming. We are, however, going to ensure that gay, trans, queer, bi, two-spirit, non-binary, and gender non-conforming kids survive and thrive and are treated with respect and dignity. Think of all the children, youth, and families we work with, or that we know personally. The transgender youth who would rather be dead than live their own authentic self, who will remain in an abusive home because at this time there are no other options. It's fine, they say, I'm used to this treatment. Or the closeted teen who is terrified to come out. Will they be ridiculed, beat, kicked out of their home? What if these kids saw a rainbow flag? What would they feel? Would it give them courage to seek out support? Would they trust that that adult who is wearing that rainbow flag or putting that sticker up would be a safe person to talk to? Would it give them hope that they can get through these difficult times? I sure hope so. And as Harvey Milk said, you have to give them hope. No one belongs in the closet, but if you are safer inside, I'll guard it for you. As the actor, writer, and musician Chris Colfer has said, there's nothing wrong with you. There's a lot wrong with the world you live in. Depending on who you ask, pride is a riot or a celebration, or both. For me, pride is a celebration. Let's celebrate love, acceptance, individuality, and authenticity. Which brings me to the final reason I said yes. I'm here to tell you that you don't need super special skills to be an affirming adult. All it takes for a 2S LGBTQ+ youth to have less suicide attempts, less negative impacts on their mental health is one positive affirming adult. Don't you want to be that adult? Let's celebrate the fact that by simply using correct pronouns, challenging your own assumptions, and making space for someone to be their authentic selves, you can make a world of difference in an infinite number of lives. It's so easy. Anyone can do it. Be thankful that you can exist without persecution and having to defend who you are. Put up a rainbow flag at your desk. Don't tear them down. Accept and celebrate diversity. Lives will be saved. The world will be a better place because of it. Thank you.
Wow, nice that I'm taller than somebody. Thank you, Lyris. I mean, that's why we're here, and that's why we do what we do. So thank you for sharing, and thank you for all that you do every day in the field, every day in this agency, every day in our community to make it a safer place for our kids. Thank you. I told you we were going to give you all the feels, so we have more feels, and I think this video really beautifully follows your comments, and it really speaks to the importance of what those words of affirmation mean, what those symbols of affirmation mean. So we're going to share a video which is called Every Single One of Us, Letters to Those That Supported Us. And it chronicles a series of queer and trans youth and asks them to write letters to the people that supported them in their journey. And so this is it, and again, I think it really speaks for itself. So we'll share that now and hope that you enjoy it.
Growing up, there was a lot of negative media associated with trans women. There was a lot of negativity in general. And I remember the day that I came out to myself as a transgender woman. But I remember that day I went back home and I did my makeup. And I was in my makeup, but I've never worn a wig before. And I put that wig on. And I remember when I looked in the mirror, I saw myself for the first time in my life. Like, I saw me. And when you grow up your entire life not recognizing, not feeling a connection with the person you see in the mirror, that moment, it changed my life.
I knew I was queer when I was 11, I think. I had a really big crush on my best friend throughout all of elementary school, and I had no idea what it was. I just kind of had this like infatuation with them.
For me, unfortunately, I had to go through a lot of things alone because I wasn't comfortable telling other people.
I first came out to myself, and I never really understood what it meant when people said that a weight was lifted off your shoulders, but I actually felt a weight lift off my shoulders.
I feel like there wasn't really a moment when I came out, just coming into comfortability with myself and understanding how I felt.
It's scary finding out who you are, and it's confusing, and you need someone there to say that this is real and this is okay.
There was times in my life where all of these things happening to me, it kind of just it got to me to the point where I thought that I couldn't proceed with this life any further. And I remember people talking about the Trevor Project, I always heard about the Trevor Project. So one of the days I decided to reach out and message someone on the chat. And I thought that was so convenient because I was at home. I didn't want anyone to hear me call and have these very private thoughts shared with people I don't want to hear. And so I was able to chat with a counselor, and they were able to just calm me down.
Being a young trans person in today's world it's still pretty hard. So having people to tell you, hey, no, you're not an outsider. You're just like everybody else. It's okay to be yourself. That's very important for anybody.
Dear Mia,
Hello, Mother.
Mama,
Dear Mama,
Dear siblings, words cannot describe how grateful I am for you.
I'm writing this note to you because I feel that you have supported me the most in my life.
I don't even know where to begin, but thank you for every little thing you've done for me.
thank you for understanding me when no one else would. Thank you for being there for me when no one else was.
we never really started on the right foot with all of this. You didn't understand in the beginning, and I'm sure it was confusing and scary. It was even more so for me.
We have been through so much together, which has made our bond even stronger. When I came out to you, you all welcomed me with open arms without thinking twice.
I just wanted to say thank you for allowing me to always feel valid in my own self and all of the decisions that I make.
From the moment we met, you made me feel affirmed in who I am, regardless if anyone else felt different.
When I was in elementary school, I asked you what you'd do if you had a queer child, and you flat out told me you would never support them. Thank you for proving yourself wrong.
And I'll never forget the day you said to me, please don't tell me you're trans. It sticks with me, yes, because it hurt me, but also as a reminder of how far you've come.
When it came to calling me by my new name and everything that came with it, you all adapted right away. You said, as long as you are healthy and happy, nothing else matters.
As I get older, I recognize how much of a privilege it is to have a mom that is supportive of my queerness, artistry, and personal ambitions. Even though sometimes it doesn't seem like it, I'm extremely grateful for all the good that you have brought into my life.
You made sure I had halal food in my foster care placements. You made sure I had a prayer mat and a Quran. You taught me how to wrap my hijab and pray. You did everything in your power to make sure I stayed connected to Islam, even if that meant as a woman.
You cried when I told you who I was, but you tried. You tried to get my pronouns right, even if you didn't fully understand. Even though you still have questions and make mistakes, you've grown so much, and I know I have your full support now more than ever.
And for that, I am and will always be grateful to have you as my siblings. Love you always, Miles.
I feel that because you are so accepting, I've been able to grow exponentially, and I will continue to grow into the best possible person I can be. Thank you.
You have given me all the love and confidence I need to be unapologetically myself. And I will never be able to repay you enough for that. I thank and love you so much, Mia. Forever and always, Ryan.
You're trying your best, and I'll try to explain my identity as many times as you need. I know you love me no matter what. Thank you for being my best friend, no matter my name.
You taught me I was worthy of being loved. You taught me life is worth living. Mama, you are my rock. You are my John. I love you.
Okay, what do you think? Powerful, eh? Yeah, it still gets me. And you know, as Lyra said, I think you're so right in your remarks, Lyra. You don't have to be an expert. You just have to say, I see you. I honor you as you are. I'm going to make mistakes, but I'm going to try. And that's really what came through with those young people, is none of those people in their lives had to be experts, but they were willing to grow and to really support those young people. So that's what we have the opportunity to do. All right. Oh, that still gets me. It makes me a little emotional. So just before we close out our ceremony here, I wanted to just share a couple of announcements and a couple of events coming up. So first, just wanted to acknowledge the Emancipation Jubilee, which is happening this weekend in Windsor. It kicks off Friday night with the fundraising dinner at the Hellenic, which is a paid event. Most of the events are free throughout the weekend. Starting at the Caribbean Club on Saturday afternoon, they're going to have the Rise group back that was here, has been here a couple of times, and they'll be doing a youth talent show. And they're recruiting youth from all over the city. And several of the youth will actually receive honorariums for their sharing. It's going to be really great. And then they do a fashion show. They have tons of food for sale. Josh Johnson is going to play that night, and he's actually going to have his full band, an 8-piece band. So it promises to be a fantastic evening. Festivities are then at Sandwich First Baptist Church, which was a direct stop on the Underground Railroad, and very much still connected to that history. And they're going to have a church service in the morning. They're going to have events all day. They'll have the barbecue going and ribs on the grill outside. And then Sunday, it's Takeover Jackson Park and all kinds of family-friendly events. So lots going on. And we want to, again, really be in support and solidarity with the Emancipation Black Council of Windsor-Essex that is putting that together. There have actually been emancipation celebrations in this community for over 90 years. So back in the day, they were massive celebrations, and then things happen, but they have never given up on those celebrations, and they're really in a rebuilding phase. So they've got some fantastic things going on. So we want to encourage people to go out, and again, it's really family friendly, lots of good food. Oh, go back. My finger. And then, of course, come walk with WECAS in the Pride Parade. Sunday, August 11th is the Pride Parade. The parade starts and we kind of gather behind the Market Square in Argyle and Ottawa. And we start gathering around 9:30ish and anytime after 9:30, and then the parade sort of sets sail down Ottawa Street starting at about 11. And it's lots of fun. Family friendly. Bring your friends, bring your kids, bring your neighbors. Everybody is welcome. If you are planning to attend, if you can just let me know, that way we'll try to, as the day gets closer, make sure that we're aware of everybody that is going as much as we can be, so that we can make sure that you're connected and you have the information and we can sort of stay in touch. So we'll try to minimize all the all-staff emails as much as possible, but we will probably do a couple more call-outs before the parade to all staff. But from then, if we know who's planning to attend, we can just kind of reach out to those folks. But come. As you can see, this is one of the promo shots they've been using for Pride for many years. And it was our first year marching officially as an agency. The committee had marched for many years, or we kind of used to bring the CAS banner and kind of attach with CUPE, and they'd let us carry the banner with CUPE and stuff. But this was the first year that we were fully sanctioned and fully kind of as an agency marched together in the parade. And we were there with our little t-shirts, and we thought, oh, we'll have a rainbow. Our t-shirts are different colors, and there was so much rainbow everywhere. We really didn't stand out. It wouldn't be a ceremony without our dear friend Teresa Sims, our two-spirit elder, our wisdom teacher, our Nookamis, and our friend. So I'm going to invite Teresa, if you want to just bring a few remarks, anything you want to share, and when you're ready to sing, Teresa, just let me know, and I'll start the raising of the virtual flag. Okay, so we'll welcome Teresa.
Well, I was thinking about your theme about the letters. And I remember how I was first told I was two-spirited. My mom told me. She said that I have a different way of seeing things. I see spirit. I'm going to be connected to that person through spirit. Their spirit's going to connect to me as a friend, as a colleague, as a lover. It's going to be different, but I see through spirit. So it doesn't matter if they're male or female, it's going to be that connection is through spirit. That's how she explained how I was different, but also she explained how everyone is unique. We have a whole spectrum of genders, whole spectrum of sexual orientations. So how can you just say one or two? That came over from the ship. And that goes back to Gushwenta, to Rawampum, the vessel and the canoe. Your value, belief systems, your religion, and your politics is in that vessel. Ours is in the canoe, which is everyone is unique. Took all the generations behind us of our mothers, our fathers, and all the generations in front, and we connected to become this unique person. There's never going to be another you. That is that one uniqueness. So how can you say, oh, I have this, I am this, I am only this? Those are labels, and that comes from the class system of colonization and Christianity. That was also crowd control. They wanted mob control back then, so they had to scare people. Where ours is about love and connection to the earth, connection to creation. We knew about the constellations. We know about the seasons. We knew that the world was round. We also knew that North America looked like a turtle. That's why we call it Turtle Island. So we knew a lot of these things. And when newcomers came here, a lot of times they didn't ask, so we didn't provide. It's like, it's like we don't push. We don't try to brainwash anyone. Someone asks me a question, I'll find it. Or I'll say, I don't know, but I'll find someone who does. But we don't push our belief because, especially in Longhouse, you have to be born into it. It's almost like being kosher. It's something that we don't push on people. And we're finding a lot of people all of a sudden they're calling them pretendians. But suddenly it's good to be First Nations. You didn't go through the trauma. You weren't beaten. You weren't raped. You weren't told you were garbage. I was beaten and raped and left in an alley because I was First Nations. Unless you have gone through that horror. And all through school, I was not allowed my language or any of my culture to be public. It was against the law. And if my parents complained about it, they'd be put in jail, and I'd go to residential school. And if they took me to residential school, my parents complained, they'd go to jail. Still went to residential school. So my parents had to lie. My dad said he was Irish. And my mom said, yeah, I'm with him. But they were very First Nations. But they had to survive because they went through their whole life in residential school. And they went through the trauma, the starvation, and the abuse. But luckily, my mom went when she was 5. So all that you learn and need in your life, as you learn, as you're learning as ECEs and in young childhood development, is most of the things you need to know, you learn by the age of 5. So my mom had that root. She had her roots were deep. And she learned how to be a good student, because otherwise she was beaten. She was put over a well one day, suspended. She couldn't come out until she could say, please and thank you in English. So that teaches you to be a very good student. And they're always starved. They did different studies on starvation, long-term effects. McMaster just came out with one 2 years ago of the effects of residential school on the children. That's why my mom was 4'11", because it stunted her growth. That's also why she had problems having children, because her womb didn't develop properly because of starvation. all that development was stunted. All the things were turned on her. So she was blessed with 4 children. She lost 3, but she had 4. So she taught me these things. And she told me, you know, even though she doesn't know the language, she lost that after, 18 years in residential school, because they kept her on because she was so good at sewing and cooking and taking care of the minister. And she retained the teachings. So that's how she told me I was two-spirited. It wasn't coined until 1990 about being two-spirited. She just said, I saw spirit. So I was different and unique, and you're going to be a counselor. So you're not going to be able to hunt. You're not going to have blood on your hands, because those are going to be for healing. So others will bring you what you need in the way of well-being and that. So she was teaching me all these things when I was 7. So my teaching started about who I was when I was 7. And then I saw mainstream how abusive they were to their children, and how abusive the children were to their parents. I never raised my voice in my life to my mom. I think I did that once when I was driving. Someone cut me off and I said something, and I was so embarrassed because I swore. And I was 40 years old. And I still went, oh, sorry, mommy. Because I never did that before. So it's still culture shock every day when I go to mainstream homes and that, and how they treat each other. And we have long debates, even in our government. We have consensus. All 50 sachems or chiefs have to agree before that process goes on, because we have to think of the next 7 generations. So it may take longer, but we learn how to debate. Like, I may be passionate about some things because I believe that I want to work myself out of a job. So we don't need social workers. So we don't need to have all these organizations for our families, because our families have learned to take care of each other. So those parents can take care of their children. So the grandparents can take care of those children. For the aunties, the uncles, and all the cousins can all take care of that child. But after 150 years, it's going to take some time. Because a lot of that's lost. Lots of them are Christianized. Some of them are, fanatical. It's under that hostage syndrome. So they become better Christians than the Christians that raised them. So we have all of those post-traumatic trauma, but it's complex post-traumatic trauma, multi-generational trauma that we have to go through. So sometimes when I see something that's wrong, I'm a very strong advocate. Aggressive, I think it's assertive. But I'm snapping turtle, so we have attitude anyway. So I might come forward and say something very strong, but that's about that position. It's not about who we are as human beings. Because I can be friends with people, but something goes wrong. I'll step forward and say, no, that's not right. You did not say, that was not in the agreement. And I'll go through letter by letter. And that's what I would say. I'll tell the truth. Because I'm Turtle Clan. We're keepers of the truth. We are the original, one of the strong, assertive counselors, teachers. So that's part of our role and responsibility. So a lot of times I may come forward very harshly, but it's just the truth. Sometimes truth is harsh. Like residential school, slavery. Like emancipation, we're celebrating that people took people and used them and beat them and tortured them. And little children, you took them, you beat them, you tormented them, you tortured them. And that's part of the history of North America. So being aware of your history so you don't repeat it. And we've been very kind because we're still here, because we need support, we need allies. We're only 4% of the population, but then you got 40%, incarcerated in some places. Half of our children are in CES. It's lowering, but we need more, because I remember one of our elders, said to your executive director, get out of our families. Leave our families alone. We can take care of them. It's not your role, it's ours. But that's basically what we're working towards and how we can do that. Because we don't have the same cultural teachings that you have. So it's going to be different. Like if you see a crib and it's full of different gifts in that, that's not because they're going to sleep there. That's showing appreciation of all the gifts that have been received to that child. Then remove that before the child goes to sleep. Because that's our culture, to celebrate all the gifts that we receive for that child. Those are different teachings. You know, and we do, you know, many different things. Like I go in and I drum babies in. It might be anywhere from 3, I've gone up to 13 hours drumming that baby in. But also I go in now and when someone's passing away, to help their spirit move on their journey to that next level. And that's part of our role as women. So also teaching our women this. That's why I have drum circles. That's why I have, you know, openings, is to help. And I'm here. Anytime you need to ask, I'm here. Even on holiday, I'm here. So there's one song I like to sing. It's the deer song. The deer is the kindest creature in the forest. And we use the deer for everything. I learned that song so when I made this drum. I birthed this drum in spring. The spring is the time you birth things, come to life in the spring. So I birthed this drum to thank that deer for providing for me. And we also had a feast with deer meat. And also the hooves were used for a dancer who was given those hooves. And we used sinew to help tie things from the deer. So we used every part of that animal. And we tell the animal, the hunter, I knew him. And with the last breath of that deer, he put tobacco down and told the deer, you're going to provide for my community. Your hide's going to make drums so we can have music and we can celebrate life and also when life ends. And you're going to provide for our seniors. You're going to provide for everyone that I can pass you around to the community to enjoy. So you won't be just left to be neglected. You will be remembered. And we did that with tobacco, with the last breath of that deer. So I know it was very special. So this is the deer song.
For bringing your teachings and for bringing your beautiful voice to our ceremony. So our ceremony has come to a close and Pride Month begins. Happy Pride, everyone. Happy Emancipation Day. And again, thank you so much for coming. We hope to see you at the Pride Parade. Thank you. All right.